what's going on? Arrowhead Kingdom and 1558 are back again this week to pick games against the spread. We picked the wild card weekend last weekend, and we both did quite well. We both went 5-1. So the two places that we differed and where this difference came from, we both picked Cincinnati, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and the Rams to win and cover. You were all in on San Francisco, not only covering, but winning that game against Dallas. I said that was going to be much ado about nothing, and Dallas was going to be the upper seed that won. I couldn't have been more wrong about that. I need to mind my P's and Q's and remember that Mike McCarthy covers or coaches that team, and that they could do something like run a quarterback draw with 14 seconds left instead of running.
And Dak Prescott just isn't, he is not a megastar. He's not.
No, he's not. He's not. And I mean, I thought it was pretty bad for him. There's no need to get into this any more than the national media already has, but I thought it was pretty bad for him that he went into the press conference and doubled down on that. Said it was cool to throw stuff at the referees. It was a pretty bizarre weekend. You had Bruce Arians hitting the player on the head with on a play, and I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
It seemed like he was in the middle of some sort of old man stroke as he kind of stepped out there and like open palm hit this guy like he didn't know where he was at.
No, I mean, the part that I'll say that I understood where he was coming from is it looked like there was about to be an on-field brawl. He was trying to stop his guy, and it had an air of we scored 31 unanswered points. Don't let this turn into an actual football game. But at the same time, I mean, that's essentially what got Urban Meyer fired. The Josh Lambo thing came out, and that was the move that got him fired. It didn't look like some of the videos you see with 50-year-olds choking out high school kids or anything like that. I mean, this was two grown men, but I mean, Arians, that wasn't a good look for him.
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. So he got fined, and he's lucky that's all he got. Apparently, when you're a Super Bowl champion team in Tampa Bay, you can cuss out other teams' coaches, you can yell at refs, you can throw tablets, and you can apparently hit your players in the head and not have any major repercussions. But here we are. All right, so let's get into this week's games. We'll go in order. So the first one is the early game Saturday, and it's Cincinnati going to Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 3.5 at home, which with the home field advantage, giving you 3 points, traditionally speaking, it means that they are essentially a over-under on a 1-point favorite. So Vegas, all the betting lines think this is going to be a close game. Where are you going on this one? What do you think about winning and covering?
This game will play out as a boring game, I think. Tennessee wins, Tennessee covers. And I think the keys to that are going to be Cincinnati lost their best defensive tackle, and that spells it all for me. Derrick Henry, 4 yards. It could be Foreman, 4 yards every time you touch the ball. Nothing more. Get 4 yards and go down because they can't stop it. And Tennessee will be able to score a couple of times and shut it down if they have to. I think they're just going to keep Burrow off the field. That will be the name of the game there.
Yep, I agree. I see the exact same thing happening. I mean, Tennessee is a good team that's going to be able to control the clock. Cincinnati's been a breakout team of this year. We'll call them the Cinderella story. And like I've said from the beginning of all of this, I expect this playoffs to end up being chalk. This is the last we'll see of that Cinderella story. So I got Tennessee as well. Let's get into the other game where we have a Cinderella story that is brewing. We have the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. This is in Lambeau, and the Packers are favored by 6. And so all of the rumbling is that this could be a tough game for the Packers. This is a traditional playoff matchup that I know that at least I grew up with, being my age, 40 years old, along with that Dallas San Francisco one. So there's definitely some rumbles, and I'll tell you that the local media up here definitely has their stomachs in a knot over this one. A guy that I know really well who's on the ESPN radio crew, working to get an interview set up with him, Greg Matzik. He runs the Packers OT, which is the official post-game show, put 2 short blog posts out within this past 7-day period of time. One is the 49ers are a major threat to the Super Bowl hopes for the Packers. The second one that he put out was remembering 7 years ago that Seahawks game where the Packers ended up losing to the Seahawks as they went to their second Super Bowl against the Patriots. So that's honestly how the feeling is up here. So that being said, I'm going to say the same thing that I said about Dallas against San Francisco, and I expect to be right this time. I think this is going to be much ado about nothing. This is a different Packers team. I think that this comes down to Aaron Rodgers not letting this turn into a game where you have to have a kicker, and you can't put this game in Mason Crosby's hands or on his foot, and I think they won't. I think that there's certain lessons that nobody has let Matt LaFleur forget, like not going on it for 4th down, on the goal line last year and kicking a field goal. So I think that the Packers come out motivated. I think they come out rested, and they take care of business this Saturday night, and everybody's in a good mood, and Cheesehead land on Sunday.
I do agree. I want to pick San Francisco. They're just such a frustrating team to play. Garoppolo has to make mistakes. I just think, what they're doing, sacrificing Deebo Samuel's future to make sure they get the ball in his hand as often as possible, is good for them right now. So I don't know. I'm going Green Bay. What's the spread on it?
It's 6.
Yeah, I do think what was it? 30-28, I think they played earlier this year.
I think that's correct, but that one Crosby made a field goal, and kind of a lot's happened.
Wow. Oh man, I gotta win this week. I have to find my difference maker. I don't think we're gonna be too different in too many places, but I can't pick against Aaron Rodgers this year. So yeah, I'm going Aaron to win by a touchdown, maybe 10, maybe just blow him out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just think about San Francisco essentially controlled that game against Dallas, and it still came down to better decision making away from being a potential overtime situation or even a loss. What I can 100% assure you is that Aaron Rodgers and what's his name, Matt LaFleur, are not going to be running a quarterback draw with 14 seconds left and no timeouts in a game where they're down by half a point. So I don't see this going the way that was. And the Niners were honestly lucky to win that game because Garoppolo did not shut the door. And I definitely like your comment about them Lamar Jacksoning Deebo Samuel and kind of going all out with a guy. But so we're aligned on that right now, and we might just be living the fight another day, because the next game that we're talking about is the Rams going to Tampa. The Rams are 3-point underdogs, so the home team is favored by 3, which the odds makers are essentially saying this is a pick 'em game. So where are you going on this one?
My initial instinctive answer is LA, because this Tampa team is not what they were last year. They're not what they were the first quarter of this year. And I just, I gotta go Rams. I'm going Rams. I think, we're getting 24-year-old Matt Stafford right now. I think he knows that he might not get this shot again. And that team is playing well. I don't trust their defense, but Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, they are a lot to deal with amongst the other weapons that team has. I'm going LA to upset.
All right, so I'm going to give you the place where we disagree. I'm going with Tom Brady because of a lot of the same stuff that you just said. Don't trust the Rams defense, and it's Matt Stafford. It's Matt Stafford versus Tom Brady, and that's just it. Matt Stafford has some skills. He's played both Megatron and Cooper Cup into all-world status in his career, but he played Megatron into all-world status and couldn't win a playoff game with that setup. And I
Oh
definitely think that
man, with
could,
that setup,
yeah, and I definitely think that he's a good quarterback. He's better than Ofer in the playoffs, and he got his win this last week. I just this is one where I can't pick Matthew Stafford to go into Tampa Bay and beat Tom Brady. I can't do it.
let's
So
go. Okay, well, there it is.
going with the Bucks. And then our
Man.
last one, which is not only the last game, but the one that we care about, it's the Buffalo Bills coming to Kansas City. The Chiefs are 2-point favorites, which essentially means they're 1-point underdogs. So the odd makers are essentially telling us that this could go either way. We're probably getting a shootout. What I should look up right now is what the over under is. And that's I think that's an important piece here, and we can comment on that as well if you want to, but I'll just ruin the surprise. I'm going with the Chiefs to win. I think they win by at least a touchdown. It could very well be 2. I would not be shocked if they win by 3 touchdowns. I saw a meme on the internet earlier today that had the thing of I don't know professional wrestling enough to know the guy who's laughing, but you have the Undertaker lurking in the background, and it was just the Bills thinking that they're playing the same team that they beat earlier in the season in week 5 or whatever
Which
it was.
They are not.
They're not. They're not
playing the same team.
They're not, and that's what I think we're getting into. I've written about this twice. I talked about it when we recorded with Mark Van Sickle earlier this week. And here's the biggest thing that I pulled out of that playoff game against the Steelers. I have admitted to people that I talk to about football pretty often, and so I'll just say this out loud to you as well. I was nervous about that game. The week 16 game had me feeling confident that we were going to get a win, but playing against Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, as hobbled as he is, what I was honestly thinking about was Peyton Manning his last year won a Super Bowl, and he had no business being there, but he got up for a game. And granted, the defense beat the Panthers, but Manning made the plays that he had to. And there was a part of me that had that in my head, and I couldn't get it out. It was maybe 5% max.
I was nervous about their.
Then we start punting, and it didn't leave. And then TJ Watt picks that fumble up and slides into the end zone. And I remember looking at Chris Thomas because we were watching the game together, and I just said, Kansas City has to score on this next series. And they did. And then here's a preview for the writer's room that I'll tell you as well. And then they took the ball back right away. As soon as Kansas City got the ball after Pittsburgh punted, I looked at him and said, and I put this in our chat thread that we have for the writer's room, so you probably saw this. I said, we will be up 14-7 at halftime. And then that Travis Kelce thing happened. And there is no time that I've enjoyed taking ridicule more than being wrong about that, because we went up 21-7 and we ended up running off this 10.5-minute stretch. The Chiefs have a switch. Patrick Mahomes has a switch, and TJ Watt flipped that switch. And the way that switch ended was him getting clowned by an offensive lineman who was catching a touchdown pass. That play was 100% the fault of the NFL sack leader this year, who tied for the all-time sacks lead with Michael Strahan. So the Chiefs found a switch. I don't think they're going to make Buffalo turn it on. I think that they are going to turn that on, and it's already flipped on in practice this week. I think we are going to see a very motivated team. An over-under of 54. That is the most stupid over-under line that I've heard for a game like this. I wouldn't be surprised if one team scores that many points. This just seems like an all stops pulled out, but I'm expecting a score similar to what we looked at in the AFC Championship last year, where they win by a couple of touchdowns. Mahomes is not going to give Micah Hyde these opportunistic game-changing plays like he had against the Patriots, which that catch was amazing. And Micah Hyde was playing wide receiver for like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has a better year, but yeah, I mean, I think Kansas City is gonna remind everybody who they are against the Buffalo Bills, and that over under is a joke, and it's going down. And looking at ESPN now, the line's actually down to 1.5. So there you go. So we'll go with it being 1.5 since I'm looking at it right now. What are your thoughts on this game?
My mind is all over the place with this one. Like you said, this is not the same Chiefs team, and I don't think that we're seeing that much of a different Bills team. The talking heads I've been hearing are talking about how great this offensive line is for Buffalo right now. But I mean, that certainly hasn't been the story all year long. So I think they're getting a small sample size of something if they think that line is great. But the news that came out locally this morning, it then eventually made its way to ESPN and everything about Willie Gay being a little bit of shit. Worries me somewhat. I don't think it's going to be a problem. It sounds locally like it's nothing. That he pled not guilty. This is going to get talked about again in March probably or something like that, and he should play. And I do think he's a big difference maker. Not that he is every single week, but someone has got to stop Josh Allen from running. He is so dangerous. I'm going Chiefs as the pick. I am not going to be shocked at anything in this game. The only thing that would shock me is if we blow them out. That would shock me. I think that this will be a close one. Right now, ESPN on their pick'em application, and that they've got going nationally, 51% on just a picking straight up, not against the spread. 51% of the people have picked Buffalo, 49% have picked the Chiefs. I mean, that's about as right down the middle as you could get. 70% of the people do believe that Patrick Mahomes will score more, will throw for more passing yards than Josh Allen. That could be dictated by, how the game is going.
Well, realistically speaking, Allen didn't throw for that many yards last week. He threw for 308 and 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's not to say that 308 is not 308's not a slouch, but when you look at 47 points and they scored every single time, I would have thought there would be more yards. That's all I'm saying. Just the way the way they run stuff, the way they don't use their running backs. I mean, 2 of those 7 plays that scored were rushing touchdowns by running backs. And that was the part that I think was a little crazy. I mean, Mahomes' line was 404 yards with 5 touchdown passes. When you look at the score of that Buffalo New England game, I expected a line more like that. And again, 300 yards, we're talking about first world problems here, that we're saying that 300 yards, 308 yards isn't a lot. That's just not what I expected that he did. I thought he would have thrown the ball more than that, but Buffalo had everything going. I mean, Dawson Knox catching the 2 touchdown passes that he had. I mean, there was just, the Patriots did nothing right. And so, which
should not be understated. We can forget about Mac Jones. That's a Bill Belichick defense. I really think, and we can be biased, but I think if we could choose a defense for this Patrick Mahomes team right now, we'll just give you New England's defense, how it's coached, everything, or this Chiefs defense. I think most people would say, give me the New England defense.
Sure.
So what that means for how Josh Allen's going to do this weekend, I don't know. I think it's very important the Chiefs don't turn the ball over, period, but especially not 4 times.
No, I agree.
That was a huge piece of the game earlier this season with them.
I'm going to make the same exact comparison that I made with Mark Van Sickle. that game reminded me of the scene in Fight Club where they're ramping up Project Mayhem. And if you watch that movie, I mean, spoiler alert for a movie that I think had its 25th anniversary here recently, but there's the whole thing. If you watch that movie, Edward Norton wins, I think, one fist fight, and it's the one when they're ramping up and he's fighting Jared Leto, and his character's name is Angel. But as they're ramping up for everything, it just shows the fight and everything gets really dark. And all of a sudden he's got him on the ground and he just sits there and beats his face into hamburger because he can't even compose himself enough to tap out. And it just shows like blood all over his face, all of his teeth getting knocked out. And they finally like pull Edward Norton off of him, and Brad Pitt looks at him and just goes, "Way to go, psycho boy." And Ed Norton's comment back is, "I just wanted to destroy something beautiful." That was the Bills this last weekend. I mean, I think the most accurate thing that you can say is that was the kid brother that got the big brother on the ground, and he would have beat him to death if his buddies didn't pull him off and say, "You don't want to kill your brother." That's honestly what I thought that game was. I think that they used every ounce of emotional energy that they've been storing up for the entire Josh Allen era, just waiting for a chance to humiliate the Patriots on national TV. I think it was that more than seeing an accurate depiction of what both of those teams were. And from both of those teams, meaning that Bills offense and that Belichick defense. I mean, I would almost say that the most shocking thing that you could possibly happen is replay that game this weekend and it goes the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. There is definitely big brother, little brother shit going on with those two teams. I get that. But, I hope we're not the big brother this weekend and little brother's coming after, because we handled them last year in the playoffs.
We did.
I mean, think that there's still a bit of revenge they want. It kind of works out for us, the fact that we lost earlier. Hopefully that gives us a bit of a chip. But sure. This is going to be a hell of a game. But I'm not sold that the winner of this game is going to the Super Bowl. Like a lot of people locally this morning have been saying that they think this is really the AFC Championship game. I just don't know. We've got to wait and see Tennessee with Derrick Henry back. And I think they're going to run all over Cincinnati, which will probably inflate their odds. But we'll see. Man, this is going to be a game. I am 10 times as nervous as I was this past weekend. Yeah, I'm with you. I was nervous this past weekend going into it with the whole.
No, I mean, my plan has been the whole time. I placed a Super Bowl bet on them when they were 3-4, and I have a buddy who's a Titans fan, and I have flights to Nashville and hotels booked for next weekend. And the plan that we've kind of both made is that we're both going to take the buyout on our Super Bowl bets and buy tickets to the playoff game. And it's more of a not that I don't trust the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. It's just that seems like a good story to me. Take the buyout and use it to buy a playoff ticket. Because that's where my head's at. I don't know if that's the right or wrong thing, but yeah. I just the more that this season has gone on, I am just generally speaking an optimist when it comes to my sports teams. I expect them to achieve at or above the level that they are. Obviously that's a recipe for getting burned quite often, and I watch every single sport that there is. So I've definitely taken my share of losses and stuff, but it's also one of those, I feel like I can recognize greatness, and I don't go around and say, I expect my team to win, every single year. But with the Chiefs, I don't think that's an inappropriate thing to say. I really don't. And I was with them the entire season, and the second that they did 5 in a row after that 3-4 start, I'm like, yeah, they're going to win. There's I feel really good about them winning. I don't think that there's anything that's going to get in their way that's going to stop. But I've said this multiple times, that Bengals game, if that's a playoff game, that game doesn't go the way that it did.
I mean, I think anything like that could happen. It was a very fluky ending. I don't know. I don't know how you prevent that because you're damn near out of time when you're trying to figure out, do you just let them score?
Sure.
And then you got a team that realizes they want us to score. That you have to prevent with 10 minutes on the clock sometimes. So we'll see. I think Cincinnati knows that offense is as capable as anyone in the league. They cannot play defense though.
They are.
So we'll see. I don't think they get past Tennessee, but I would love, if I had to pick, I want Cincinnati instead of Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean that'll be a home game, so I'll be coming to Kansas City. I mean,
yeah.
if that whole thing happens, I mean I'm canceling all this Tennessee stuff that I have because there's no point in doing any of that, and I'm heading Kansas City. So, but no, I mean my full intention is I'm watching an AFC Championship game live next Sunday. So that's
God, I hope so.
That's my plan. It's my plan. So anyway. Well, I think that's it. It looks like our one difference that's going to determine who wins this week is how that Tampa Rams game goes. But I'm sticking with my whole thing. We got all 1-2s coming through. I think this is chalk. We're getting the Final Four time, and it was super cute to see these Cincinnati's and these San Francisco's come in and make all kinds of noise and stuff like that. We're getting ready to have some heavyweight battles, and the first true heavyweight battle is us and the Bills. The Rams and the Bucks would like to think they're in a heavyweight battle. I don't think they are. So
who would have thought Chiefs would be going into the divisional round of the playoffs, and every remaining AFC team has already beat us?
Yep, exactly. So switch is flipped.
Yeah, gotta hope so. I just like you said, they can't wait for Buffalo to flip it. Because if that's the case, it might be done at that point. They've got to find a way to start off hot. And one last thing I want to say, and maybe it's just because Pittsburgh's not good, but something happened this past Sunday where maybe it's because it's a playoff game and they panicked, but finally the production from a receiving running back forced Pittsburgh to adjust. And we just haven't really forced anyone to adjust all year. We have just kind of force fed what we're going to do into this square that it just doesn't go into, and we still just get down the field. But finally made someone adjust, and then everything started to open up. Yep. And that's just the one wrinkle that we were told Clyde Edwards-Helaire would bring. I'm completely over him. Jerick McKinnon is just a better running back when he's healthy. But that's got to be addressed. I just think I really hope that they decide we are going to throw the ball to Jerick McKinnon 9 to 10 times and make someone respect it, just coming at the outside. And it could very well look like last year in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we will be back next week to pick again. And hopefully we're picking the games we expect. So
yes,
until then, see you next week.
Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.